Have you ever wondered why the Russian economy seems to thrive despite international sanctions? Isn't it a puzzle? A paradox indeed. We're talking about a nation that has been hit with numerous sanctions by the international community, measures designed to constrict economic growth, and yet, the Russian economy seems to not only endure but in some respects prosper. Now, let's get this straight. Sanctions are no light matter. They're severe political tools, wielded by powerful nations or groups of nations to express disapproval or to punish certain actions. They can include trade barriers, tariffs, and restrictions on financial transactions, all aimed at stifling economic activity. In the case of Russia, sanctions have been imposed in response to actions like the annexation of Crimea in 2014 and alleged cyber attacks and interference in foreign elections. The intended impact of these sanctions? To put it simply, they're designed to hurt, to make it difficult for the Russian economy to function smoothly, to put pressure on its financial system, to create an environment that's not conducive to trade or investment. And yet, here's where the paradox lies. Despite these economic roadblocks, the Russian economy hasn't collapsed under the weight of these restrictions. Instead, it's shown a remarkable resilience, a kind of economic tenacity that's left observers puzzled. The GDP has remained relatively stable, inflation has been kept under control, and the nation's foreign reserves have even increased. It's as if Russia is playing by a different set of economic rules, ones that allow it to weather the storm of sanctions and keep its economic ship sailing. So, if sanctions are supposed to cripple an economy, how is Russia managing to stay afloat? The answer to this paradox isn't straightforward, and it involves a deeper look into the nuances of the Russian economy, its adaptations, and its unique strategies. So stick around as we unravel this economic mystery. Let's delve deeper. When sanctions hit, economies are expected to crumble, but Russia's response was far from the norm. The traditional economic theory suggests that sanctions, especially those as severe as the ones imposed on Russia, should have precipitated a catastrophic economic downturn. The expectation was of a shrinking economy, a population suffering from job losses and skyrocketing prices, and an almost certain collapse of the national currency. However, what happened in Russia was quite the opposite. Yes, the initial impact was severe, with the ruble plummeting and inflation soaring. But the Russian economy did not crumble. It weathered the storm. The ruble, though devalued, stabilized. Inflation, while high, was brought under control, and the economy, rather than shrinking, adapted and began to grow. Now, one might ask, how did Russia manage to absorb this shock? Well, it's a combination of factors. The Russian government had substantial foreign reserves, which it used to stabilize the currency and ease the transition. The country's robust domestic industry stepped up, filling the gaps left by banned imports. Even the falling oil prices, which would ordinarily spell disaster for an economy so heavily reliant on oil exports, were managed effectively through a flexible exchange rate policy. But perhaps the most significant factor was the Russian people's resilience and adaptability. Faced with hardship, they adjusted their lifestyles, tightened their belts, and carried on. The spirit of perseverance and adaptability, it seems, played a crucial role in the Russian economy's unexpected resilience. So the Russian bear didn't just absorb the shock, it adapted to thrive. But how? Faced with sanctions, Russia turned to its strengths and diversified. It was a game of survival. This adage holds true in economics as in nature: adapt or perish. And when the economic wilderness became hostile, Russia adapted. The first tactic was to promote domestic production. In response to the sanctions, the country began to produce more of its own goods, substituting imports with homegrown produce. This move not only bolstered the nation's self-sufficiency, but also stimulated internal markets and industries. But Russia didn't just look inward, it also looked outward. It started to foster new trade relationships, reaching out to countries and regions outside of its traditional economic sphere. The Middle East, Asia, and Latin America became new trading partners, providing Russia with alternative markets to sell its goods and services. Yet perhaps the most significant strategy was the diversification of its economy. For decades, Russia's economy had been heavily reliant on oil and gas exports. But sanctions pushed the country to expand into other sectors. Agriculture, manufacturing, and technology started playing a more significant role in Russia's economic landscape. This shift not only reduced the country's dependency on oil and gas, but also made the economy more resilient to external shocks. These strategies were not merely stopgap measures, but fundamental changes to the structure of Russia's economy. The country transformed from being a one-trick pony to a multifaceted player in the global economy. It was a shift from an economy that was largely dependent on the whims of global oil prices to one that had multiple strings to its bow. Russia's economy didn't just survive the sanctions, it evolved. But what does this evolution mean? This question is not just pertinent to economists and policymakers, but to anyone with a stake in the global economy. Because when one of the world's largest economies changes its playbook, the ripples are felt far and wide. The sanctions created a new economic reality for Russia, one that is largely self-reliant and increasingly innovative. In the face of adversity, Russia has been forced to rewrite its own economic playbook. Gone are the days when the energy sector was the be-all and end-all. Now, a new reality is emerging, one that is not only more self-reliant, but also more diverse and innovative. The sanctions imposed on Russia have been a catalyst for change. They've spurred the nation to look inward, to tap into its own resources and capabilities. This has led to a surge in domestic production, particularly in sectors that were once heavily reliant on imports. From agriculture to manufacturing, Russia is now more self-sufficient than ever before. But the transformation didn't stop there. Russia has also seen a significant increase in innovation and technology. The Russian tech sector, once overshadowed by its energy counterpart, is now a major player in the global stage. From cybersecurity to artificial intelligence, Russian tech companies are making their mark. And it's not just about creating new products or services. It's about changing the way things are done, about improving efficiency and productivity across the board. The rise of technology and innovation has also led to the emergence of new industries and opportunities. It's brought about a shift in the employment landscape, creating jobs that didn't exist before. This new economic reality has not only made Russia more resilient, but also more competitive. The sanctions have indeed created a new economic reality for Russia, one that is largely self-reliant and increasingly innovative. But this transformation is more than just an economic shift. It's a testament to the resilience and adaptability of the Russian people, to their ability to turn adversity into opportunity. Sanctions, instead of suffocating Russia's economy, have triggered an unexpected metamorphosis. But what does this mean for the world? Russia's thriving economy amidst sanctions raises critical questions about the global economic order. As we dive deeper into the subject, it becomes evident that the traditional economic playbook may need rewriting. The resilience of Russia's economy despite international sanctions is a testament to the country's adaptability and innovation. This resilience challenges the conventional wisdom that sanctions are an effective policy tool for inducing political change. It's clear that Russia has not only survived these economic constraints, but has actually found ways to thrive under them. This paradigm shift forces us to reevaluate the effectiveness of sanctions as a policy tool. Moreover, the transformation of Russia's economy may also signify a broader shift in the global economic order. By focusing on domestic production and diversifying its economy, Russia has reduced its dependency on imports. Additionally, the nation has sought out new trading relationships, further insulating itself from future sanctions. This shift towards self-reliance and economic diversification could potentially inspire other nations to follow suit. If this trend continues, we may be witnessing the emergence of a new economic order, one where countries are less susceptible to economic coercion and more resilient in the face of global economic uncertainty. Russia's economic resilience also raises another critical question. Are we entering an era where economic power is less about wealth accumulation and more about adaptability and innovation? If so, this could fundamentally change the way we understand and measure economic success. As we witness Russia's economic resilience, we must ask ourselves, are we on the brink of a new economic order?